Hi again everybody, it's Mel from Stocksbridge Guitar Tech. I'm back at you here with lesson 23. In this lesson we're going to have a look at some basic lead guitar concepts. Now I know if you're still doing your chords and that, you may find this a little bit advanced, but I'll try and make it as easy as possible. And for anyone who does want to play lead guitar, I'm sure you'll find some of the tips useful. So let's zoom in a little bit, and we're going to examine things like vibrato, slides, string bending, hammer-ons and pull-offs today. So let's get into it. The first thing we'll have a look at is vibrato. This is a very important technique to master on guitar. If you've ever watched a violin player, you'll see them on the neck of the violin moving their finger sort of this way. And it's a similar sort of thing on the guitar. You can just slightly maneuver the finger and it gives an effect like this. So here's a note just played. Now with that, it's very subtle, but you just sort of rocking that finger backwards and forwards. A better way to do it on guitar is to twist the wrist like this. Don't just pull the string down, because you can't get as much control that way. If you just move the wrist, you can get very controlled vibrato. You can control the speed by the speed at which you move the wrist. And you can be very subtle or very wacky, and like I said, you can control the speed. Now this takes some practice, so again I suggest you just start off nice and slow. You want the vibrato, you want the length of each repetition. You want them the same length. You don't want to be going. So just practice at a nice steady pace with the vibrato. You can use any string, any fret, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter which way you rock the wrist, whichever's more comfortable for you. But just practice that. And have a play around with that. It helps you to get much more expressive. Just play around with the E minor pentatonic that we've been doing in the first position. What I suggest you do is get yourself a backing track. There was that website I told you about, guitarbackingtrack.com. Just look for something like an E blues backing track, which will just be something like. Just be something along those lines. You want something nice and steady like that. You don't want to be at that speed. You want to be, and then you can just play around with this E minor pentatonic. And just pick out some melodies from those 5 notes, and occasionally put some of that vibrato in. Okay, so that's the first technique, vibrato. The second technique is sliding. So with a slide, it's literally, instead of playing from the second to the fourth, we're just going to pluck the string once and move that finger up. So you can slide in both directions. You can slide up, you can slide down. Again, you can do this anywhere on any string. And what I suggest you do to practice your slides is pick a fret and a string. So let's say string 3, fret 4, and slide up to say fret number 12. And back down. And start it slowly, and then practice getting faster, and then go from say fret 2 to fret 14. Or fret 3 to fret 10 on the A string. So practice sliding from different frets to different frets on different strings. But initially you just want to practice, say, sliding 2 frets or 3. And practice both directions, up and down. And again, then you can combine things. So instead of playing something like you could play same notes, except I'm sliding into that E instead of playing the open E. Just helps you be a little bit more expressive. So the next technique, hammer-ons. So this is where we pluck a string and then we're going to hammer on with a finger. So let's say the middle finger, we're going to hammer on at this 3rd fret on the B string. So we're going to play the B string and then, without plucking the string again, so what I was doing there was a hammer on and a pull off. A pull off is the exact opposite, where we'd pluck this string at the 3rd fret and then pull off to the open string. Now you'll find this easier on electric guitar, especially if you've got a bit of distortion on like I have. But it's good to practice this with a clean sound or on an acoustic as well, because it's more difficult, so it will build your finger strength up. And practice with each finger. So that you can hammer on from any finger to any other finger. Same with the pull-offs. So practice. And the idea is to get the 2 notes playing at the same volume, so you're not doing which, like I said, it's easier with distortion, but you will hear a big difference if you're on a clean sound. Don't just lift the finger off. You need to sort of flick with the finger you're actually plucking the string with the finger rather than with your right hand. So you're playing the string with, in this case, my pinky finger, and I'm pulling off to the ring finger. Sorry. And you want to get them at the same volume. And again, practice this anywhere on the neck, on any string. Doesn't matter. So you can practice those anywhere on the neck. Just remember to practice all the fingers. So again, now combining all of those, you could get something like. Which is, you know, a bit more expressive than. So this is how we get expression into our guitar playing, by using all of these little techniques. So the last little tip I'm going to show you, whatever you want to call it, is string bending. Now again, as a beginner, you're probably going to find this really difficult, and don't try this on an acoustic guitar because you'll just break your strings and probably your wrist as well. So use an electric guitar. The lighter the gauge strings, the better when you're starting out. Use something like 9 gauge or even 8 gauge strings if you're struggling with it. So when we bend a string, we're going to, instead of playing, say, this note to this note, we're going to play that note to that note, but we're only going to play this fret. We're going to pluck the string and then bend the string up to that note. Now again, this will take some practice, so I suggest you start off with just 1 fret bend. So bend the string, say, from there to there. And use your ears. When you're bending, use your ring finger and use the middle and index fingers to support it, so that you're actually bending with all 3 fingers, not just with 1. You'll find it much easier. And then once you can do the half step bend, try a whole step bend, 2 frets. Now you can bend down or you can bend up, it doesn't matter. Just be aware that if you're bending, say, the high E string or the B string, you really want to be bending up, because if you try and bend down, the string will fall off the edge like that, which is not a great sound. So the 2 higher strings, you want to be bending upwards. And you can put vibrato on once you've got the bending sorted. You can use vibrato then while you're holding that bend. Another technique you can use is, once you've mastered the bends, is to bend the string first and then pluck it and then let it down. Now that's a more difficult technique, so stick with this string bending up for now. So just start with a semitone, a single fret bend, and then a whole tone, and then take it from there. Once you've got your finger strength up, you'll be able to do sort of BB King type bends and vibrato. But it does take a lot of practice. These techniques take practice, and they're just to give you an insight into the kind of things that we can do as a guitarist to make lead guitar playing and lead guitar solos sound much more impressive and expressive, instead of playing something like we can play, or this is what these techniques help us to do, so that we're not just playing. Which would get pretty boring pretty quickly. So instead we'd do something like, so that's what these techniques are for. So just practice them on their own individually. Practice the hammer-ons, practice the pull-offs, practice the slides, practice the bends. I suggest you practice the string bending at least in the middle of the neck or higher up, and then gradually work your way down, because you will find strings harder to bend down at this low end. And stick with the ring finger for now. You can bend with index or middle fingers, but when you're first starting out, use the ring or even the little finger, and use the other fingers behind to support it. So we've done hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, vibrato and bends. So I hope you find those tips useful. Just practice those. Practice the bends, the hammer-ons, the pull-offs, the slides and the vibrato. And just play around with a backing track. Get yourself a basic blues backing track. Just do a Google search for E minor blues or something like that, or go on to guitarbackingtrack.com, which I showed you a few lessons ago, and have a look on there. Get yourself something nice and steady, a nice slow kind of speed. You don't want to be at that speed. Just practice nice and steady, nice and slow. In the next lesson I'm going to be discussing some decent cheap guitars that you might want to have a look at to buy, electric guitars, if you don't have one at the minute, or if you're looking to upgrade or something like that. So I'm going to give you that lesson off, if you like, so that you can practice everything that we've done up to this point. So the next lesson is going to be more like it's not going to be a lesson, it's going to be more of a review. So I still hope you'll join me for that. So that's video number 24. That's all from me for today. Please do remember to subscribe, like, comment, share. It will help me out enormously. Thanks again for watching, and bye for now.